I'm not an expert in many things, but I've been making dick jokes about holy books on a tri-weekly basis for over 3 years now, and it's taught me a couple of things here. First and foremost, as we will reinforce once again this week, everything we read is more boring and less ripe for dick jokes than the last thing. It started with the historical books in the Old Testament when we said, holy shit, do I miss those awesome begats in the Pentateuch. Comedy gold they were. Then we find ourselves in the prophets with nothing but rambling insanity. Next thing you know, we're in the minor prophets missing Jeremiah. Then we're in the epistles, remembering the good old days when the treasure troves of sophomoric humor like Zephaniah and Habakkuk were on the line. And now we're in the Quran, fondly recalling the epistles when mostly the chapters had different words in them. I swear, at this rate, the Bhagavad Gita is just going to be 800 pages of all work and no play makes Vedavyasa a dull boy.
This book is like that game you play in the car when, somebody starts with, on my way to the store, I saw an elephant, and then everyone keeps adding another word.
Yeah, right.
They say the whole string of words leading up to their turn also. So here we are on Surah 15, and every verse, it's like, here's what you missed last week, and last verse, and last chapter on the front. I don't care. Just start saying things.
Yeah, this book is the religious version of talking to grandma with dementia. It's like,
right.
Oh, did you used to jump in the pool? Cool, I'm going to play on my phone. You tell me that 12 more times. Hey, quick question. Which pillow is your favorite? Like, to press? Just out of curiosity, what texture do you like?
And joining us, of course, for the profound boredom and repetition of the Muslim holy book is my lovely wife, Lucinda. Lucinda, welcome back.
You promised me My Little Ponies in this one, sir.
Yeah, no, we'll get to that. But first, we've got to start where we left off last time, which is Surah 15 Al-Hijr, which is alternately translated as the Rocky Tract, the Stone Land, or the Rock City, none of which remotely apply to what will be talked about within said surah.
So we're going to start off good and contradictory here. It starts off telling Muslims to leave people the fuck alone if they don't believe you, seeing as how they're going to burn in hell anyway. But then it says, and only destroy towns when we tell you to.
Yeah, this is conditional.
Yes.
Right. And the general message here is that atheists are so gay for Islam. We love The Rock. Still going to burn for eternity, so, don't even get into it with us. It's not even worth it.
Right.
And it should be pointed out here that this is one of those verses that gets pointed to all the time as an apologetic, and it's just super crazy clear how disingenuous this is in context. It could not be more sarcastic and bitchy. Like, this would be like using everything we've ever said about Pat Robertson as his eulogy. It's just like, no, it's not. Leave them alone, because they're gonna love it in hell, am I right?
He did look like the pitch drop experiment, only a human.
And then it says that even if we opened up the heavens and showed them proof, the atheists would be like, nah, I'm just drunk. So why? I'm not even going to bother. Like, God's not going to tell you why he's mad if you don't already know.
Right.
I think that means you should shower more often. That's my experience with that.
And then he tells us the Satan story again.
Again.
And talk about hedging your bets. In verse 42, Satan just told God, I'm going to lead all your precious little humans astray. And God says, none of them will follow you, except the ones that do.
Well, right. Yeah. Direct quote from my translation. Surely you will have no power over my servants except those misguided ones who choose to follow you.
My copy actually says Satan's going to have no authority over God's slaves except the uppity ones. and Satan is like, yeah, I know. I already told you I'm taking the mouthy ones. I want the mouthy ones. That was the whole plan.
You only get the not true Scotsman.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But wait, I want to talk about this because he seems to know that he's repeating this Satan story again. Because in my version, it tells the same story, but at the beginning of the sentence, in italics, is the word remember. Like someone was like, that's it. Mo, you already told this story. And he was like, I know, I'm reminding them. You didn't let me finish. Do you remember? Keep writing. I love you. You don't say it.
But either way, if they're going to call this the Rocky Tract, I think Weird Al needs to make a song called Lie of the Tigress or something.
If we don't make it first. And then that's it for the Rocky Tract. And as though they're getting their chapter titles off of a fucking speak and spell, the next surah is titled Bees.
Bees.
Yep.
Mo, are you just saying things you see, or do you really want to write a surah about bees? I love bees.
Bees nuts? Draw them, scribe. Draw them now. What? Oh, now you're cool with just the bees? Yeah, I thought so. Also, my copy calls this surah anal bees.
No way.
Seriously. Anal bees. Really
Anal
does.
bees.
Also, spell check wanted me to spell it bees nuts with a Z at the end of bees.
That would be proper. Yeah.
Did you mean third grade rap star?
I did mean third grade rap star.
Bees nuts. And I guess they were counting on nobody going cover to cover on this thing, because after just saying multiple times in the last surah that God made humans out of mud and clay, he starts this one off by saying humans were made from a drop of God jizz.
Okay, but wait a second, because I want to say this on air. We got an email weeks ago from a listener who's Muslim, or like a guy who's Muslim, I don't know, and he was like, wait until you get to this. Wait, because it's going to blow your mind. Now, my translation says, quote, moist germ, end quote. Was this what I was waiting for? Because we don't come from germs. Does that even mean seed? Because that's cum. We do come from cum, then never mind, it's fine. Weeks. Fuck you. If you're a listener, fuck you, dude. I read your
What a
whole
tease.
shitty, rambling email and clicked on your crazy link that took me to fucking Azerbaijan porn site. Fuck you.
And also, they just started a surah called Anal Bees, and now it says we're all made of ejaculate called nutfa.
He does.
Seriously,
He does.
nutfa. Quote, he has created man from nutfa, mixed drops of male and female sexual discharge, end quote. So we're clearly talking about cum, but more importantly, what the fuck is female sexual discharge? This book is complete fiction.
Stupid.
Oh, Heath.
Nonsense.
Then God brags about all the cows he's made, and he probably should have known better than to follow up the sperm verse with a verse that contains the words, they carry your loads to places you could otherwise not reach without great hardship. I mean, if you're not trying to say cows will suck your dick, you're doing a really bad job at it.
I think this is about milking the prostate, actually, and that's important. Point for you, Quran.
Well,
Compliment sandwich.
as if this innuendo wasn't easy enough. He specifically mentions donkey shows in the next verse. I fucking kid you not. Quote, God has created horses, mules, and donkeys so that you may ride them, and also so they may be put on show.
Everybody like parfait.
I can't watch. And apparently God put the mountains there because without them, it would be all earthquakes all the time. A little more of that scientific foreknowledge that they like to brag about, I guess.
Yeah. Did you come from a wet germ or not, Lucinda? God.
Does your grandma look like a wet germ? Does your mother look like a wet germ? I love this bit in verse 35 too, where Muhammad stumps himself. It's just like, and the non-believers will ask, hey, if God's all powerful, wouldn't he be able to make sure his message wasn't corrupted? And the best he can do in reply is like, hellbound heathen says what?
Yeah. Literally in my book, it just says, woe to them who said that. Like,
Yeah.
Whoa and jingly keys.
If God isn't real, then why isn't he an atheist? That's
That's better than any argument he
that's a tricky
offers,
one.
too.
Yeah.
Also, if you make evil plans, whatever that means, be careful because according to verse 45, God might just sink you into the earth, punish you when you least expect it, or hide around the corner and say boo really loud when you're holding popcorn.
I love this.
It says, quote, God will punish them by giving them a fright. So I just want to say I am so unintimidated right now.
Ooga booga booga.
I feel like Ben Carson got to write exactly one sentence in the Quran. Like, oh, watch out, I'm dressed as a spider. Huzzah! Leave your tuffet while you can.
And if I'm reading this right, in verse 58, he says that having daughters is pretty much the most humiliating thing that could possibly happen to you. And it's basically assumed that anybody who ever had a daughter is going to have to wrestle with the decision whether to keep her and feel disgraced or murder her and bury her in the sand. It actually says that, and for no reason. It's not like someone brought it up. It wasn't related to the other verse or anything.
Well,
Just saying.
in fairness, though, at least they describe it as like a lose-lose situation. So yeah, it's awful to have female children, granted, but it's also bad, according to them, to bury them alive. Like, tough call, but both are somewhat negative in the description.
Yeah.
But then we get to the titular bees for exactly one verse, and that's it.
That's it.
Basically, he says, well, if there wasn't a God, why would bee vomit taste so awesome?
Hey, Mo, you said bees like 20 minutes ago. I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it.
And, by the way, in Saudi Arabia, apparently honey is rainbow-colored and magically heals all sicknesses.
Like, why wouldn't it?
Diabetes, for example. You just have to put more rainbow honey pills in there. You're all set.
Gotta get me some of those.
But we do get one of my favorite verses here. Verse 74, it says, do not compare God with anyone. God has knowledge, but you have not. And I'm saying, like, nobody realized that second sentence compared me to God, did they? Or did the scribe just not bother to tell you?
See, I think this is out of context. I think like someone whispered as he was dictating, this book sucks compared to the other two, and Mo was like, it stands on its own, motherfucker. It stands on its own. It's like a Sanderson novel. You don't need the other two. Keep going.
Well, also a little more scientific foreknowledge here. In verse 79, we learn that the reason birds can fly is because of God telekinesis. And how could he possibly have known about the magical God force field that makes birds fly back then?
All the way back then.
Yeah. Crazy
God
talk.
didn't create down, then how could there be gravity? Which way would it go? Up? Like, don't be stupid.
I did this so many times. So many times.
Me too. And just when you're thinking we're about to get 2 surahs in a row with no Jew bashing, we get to verse 118 where he says, and look at all those filthy Jews. You know how God is going to punish them? Trick question. He already made them Jews.
What worse punishment could there be than being Jews? And everyone in the room was like, oh, good one, Mo. High fives all around with their hands.
And that's all that Allah has to say about bees.
Anal bees with nutfa sauce,
Exactly.
which Eli says is the best lube.
That's true.
Ew.
And then we get to the most frustratingly mistitled chapter in the book, Surah 17, The Night Journey.
And I guess we weren't the only ones noticing a conspicuous lack of Jew hate here, because the next chapter starts with several verses of what a bunch of fuck-ups the Jews are.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Right. And then in verse 12, we get more of the alcoholic teacher with tenure about to retire who doesn't give a fuck anymore. It says, quote, we made dark the sign of night while we made the sign of day illuminating that you may know the number of the years and the reckoning.
Yeah, like...
And we have explained everything in detail with full explanation.
That's
end quote.
all we need to know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That's it.
And also, it sounds like the scribe was like trying to predict his words, and Mo was just saying other wrong stuff for spite, so he wouldn't get it right. It's like, night is dark and day is light. No, not day is illuminating, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, the notes in mine are, Mohammed is a bad TA. Look, I put all the notes up online, gave out my email at the beginning of the year. Please don't write a bad evaluation. I really need this $60. I get here at 9.
Make $5 an hour in the dining hall.
He also talks about the book that he keeps of everyone's sins, that Allah keeps, I guess. And I'm just saying, there is no amount of money I would not pay to see Eli's Book of
Oh,
Sins.
shit.
Volume 1, Masturbating on Animals. Volume 2, Masturbating in Animals. Volume 3, Masturbating Animals.
Volume 4, Happy Scrappy Hero Puppy.
Hey, that last one is my erotic children's book. Do not spoil it for people. Do not.
Happy Scrappy. And right after that, Muhammad explains why it's okay to raze whole cities to the ground. It says, hey, look, before we burn a city down and murder all of its inhabitants, we politely ask all the rich people to stop being non-Muslims. And if they say no, what? We're supposed to not murder the babies? What the fuck? Come on. Come on.
I'm pretty sure the Saudi version is saying that, we always offer them a prima nocta program to be fair, and they always say no. So, if the Jews didn't want to get murdered out of existence, they should have thought about getting bred out of existence like civilized people. We offer, is all we're saying.
Would the gentleman prefer to be murdered then raped or raped then murdered?
Pepperoni and cheese.
Well, he does tell us in verse 31 not to kill our children because we're poor.
Right,
So,
yeah.
kind of fucked up that he felt the need to say that, but it's definitely good advice, I suppose.
I mean, there's this 30, like starting at 30 or so, there's this whole string of good advice, but it's such an odd mix of shit. Like, don't murder your children for money is right next to don't commit adultery. And then he stacks on some other bullshit. But it's so random. It's like, don't rip the eyelids off the elderly, don't punch rabbits, let other people off the train before you get on, and try not to overpronounce Wednesday.
From the maker of Cipher in the Snow comes...
And, my copy has an interesting loophole here. It seems to be saying that you are allowed to have unlawful sexual intercourse as long as you don't come near it.
What?
So, like, money shot, ceiling fan, run outside. This is not
So when you think about it, Mia Khalifa is the best Muslim, not the worst.
Yeah, that's...
And the types of questions he's offering up here are insane. In 51, he tells you what to say if one of those filthy non-believers asks you how you can be resurrected if you turn iron or stone.
What?
Like the most pressing question for people about the bodily resurrection is going to be, okay, but what if I get killed by Medusa? What then? What do I
Build
do?
a bridge out of her.
Ah.
Grapes. Churches.
Well, and when he isn't doing that, he's offering up like tests for their gods that Allah wouldn't pass either, right?
Right.
In 56, he says, notice how when they call upon their non-Allah gods to make their diseases go away, never works. It's because they're full of shit. But what about when we fuck off? Fuck off.
Rub some rainbow bee vomit in there. Fine.
I was
Sign the
busy. Go
permission
play
slip.
outside. Go play outside.
Also, God is still really pissed about the she-camel.
She comes up again.
I had no idea she was going to be such a major player in this book, but when he's explaining why he doesn't send more signs of his existence, he says, look what those motherfuckers did to my she-camel.
I still don't get this she-camel thing. She got tied up and raped by the townspeople, but doesn't that make her kind of the perp? I feel like he's blaming the rape victim here. That's just bad Musliming, as I understand it.
Okay, and I think we finally have to admit that this was very clearly a camel Muhammad was fucking.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't
Oh, yeah.
God's camel. It was his favorite fuck camel, and there was like a donkey punch situation or I spit on your grave thing, and now every now and then he just breaks down like your buddy talking about his ex, and the head scribe was like, we're gonna make that God's camel, everybody? Take a note, this is God's camel. Okay, yep. No affirmative self-referencing pronouns. It's all God's.
And I guess he just can't sign off without a little dig at Jesus either, because the very last verse says, all praise be to God, who never had a son, proclaim his greatness.
Right. And if you're thinking to yourself, I wonder where in the surah titled The Night Journey, it'll talk about the fucking night journey on the winged horse, but the fuck with the fucking man face. Clearly you haven't been paying attention to the chapter titles in this book and how that works, because no fucking mention of it is ever meant. I've been waiting for Muhammad to ride Rainbow Dash for 17 fucking surahs and still nothing.
No My Little Ponies.
See, I think you guys are reading it wrong, because, like, you ever wake up in the middle of the night with just, like, terrible diarrhea, and you're just, like, worried you're dying because it's just lava, and you just fill the bowl, like you just created a punch bowl of shit that you can feel getting closer and closer to you? That's what this sort of feels like. So there you go. The night That's really what he was going
I get it
Fuck
now.
this book.
Oh, thanks.
Fuck this book.
Thanks for the visual.
Yeah.
And finally, last one we're doing tonight, anyway, there's still plenty more, but we got to talk about Surah 18, The Cave.
Also, there's a cave in this one. Pretty much right away, too. So I think Muhammad's getting a little better.
Yeah.
Finally. You got the feeling Mo woke up hungover after like the first 17 surahs and was like, oh, did I write all that? I said it was the word of God, too. I can't. No backseats. Okay, here we go. I'm getting to it.
Right, so the story here is that Allah shut two different groups of people into caves. He cryogenically froze them or whatever, and then he woke them up later to see if they could figure out how long they'd been asleep.
We also get some more science here, and it's astronomy this time. According to the Quran, the sun rises in the right and sets in the left. And this is, quote, one of God's wonders, end quote.
Oh.
That things face north sometimes. It's a wonder.
But hey, how much fun must it be to argue that apologetic? No, my left. Stop it, Brian. You're being a dick. My left. What about now? What about now?
Stop turning. Stop turning.
So God wakes these frozen people up, and they argue about how long they were asleep. And then they send one guy to go get food because they're hungry. So basically the setup for the chopper sick ball scene.
Right, except it's in the apocalypse.
I guess. And then, just when you think the Quran might settle the fuck down and tell you a story, Muhammad starts barking about how God is going to pour boiling water all over the non-Muslims' faces in hell.
Yeah.
Look, guys, I can have one drink. I'm not going to get drunk and start yelling again. Flash cut to fucking Jews.
My copy is actually a little different here. It says the heathens are going to get put inside a wall of fire.
Okay.
Which is actually the least weird part of the scenario.
Okay.
Because from inside their fire cubicle, they can ask for water, and a waiter will bring it over, I guess. But it's going to be boiling water.
Uh-huh.
Which still puts out fire out.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
The heathens are just going to throw it in their faces right away without letting it cool instead.
Hey, and can I just say, this is by far the most terrifying vision of hell I've ever heard. Just an eternity of watching a barista hand you a latte you know is going to be molten lava for the next 4 hours. You try and drink it anyway. Fuck, damn it, Chad. You had to push a button, man. No, I don't want to come to your band, man. Fuck.
And by the way, we are done apparently with the cave story.
Yep.
That's the last. We're done hearing about who are those guys. What was the point of it? What was that you were just saying about not having ambiguity? Oh, never mind.
I don't care. Any new information, that's what I wanted. That's what I got. They mentioned new characters.
Small
No
victories.
anal beads in the cave either.
I'm still fine with this as long as we don't have to hear the story about how Satan wouldn't bow to Adam again.
Yeah, right.
And then he tells the story about Satan not bowing to Adam again.
There it is.
And then we get this Moses story, which reads like a dumb person telling you a joke that they don't get.
Yeah,
it's
right.
kind of insane. I
I literally wrote in the notes, this is like a 5-year-old trying to tell a joke.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is. Right. So apparently all of the Jews' fish come to life and wander off or something. So Moses is following a dude who promises to show him how to fish or something. I don't know, but no ambiguity though.
None at all. And by the way, I just want to emphasize that the setup on this story is that the fish came to life and wandered off. Okay, so then Moses is walking with this dude. They come across a boat, so he drills a hole in it. And Moses is like, "What the fuck, dude?" And he says, "Quit asking me questions and shit." And then they come across the kid, and the dude murders the kid. And Moses is like, "What the fuck, dude?" And he says, "Quit asking me questions and shit." And then he braces the wall of a building that's about to fall down. And Moses says, "What the fuck, dude?" For some reason, because Moses is an asshole, I guess. And the guy gets sick of Moses and then asks him to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's that classic parable about drowning a boat full of people, killing a child, and fixing a wall. Try circling the one that doesn't belong. Can't do it. Right? Yeah, that's God. Exactly.
Right, but then he explains why he drilled holes in boats and murdered children. And it turns out he had really good reasons, I guess, for murdering that innocent kid.
Yeah.
So, God.
Okay, so the moral of this story is that you can't judge an innocent child murderer by its cover. He says, well, no, that kid was going to rebel against his parents. That's why I murdered him. And we, the reader, are supposed to go, oh, so he needed to murder that kid even though he hadn't done anything wrong yet.
He was dead the whole time.
I get it.
And, I think this is the origin of another old saying, actually. How does it go? Give a Jewish guy a dead Muslim child and he'll eat for a day.
Oh, God.
Teach a Jewish guy to murder Muslim kids and he'll overthrow Palestine. It's something like that.
That is actually a song they sing on Muslim Sesame Street. So
I was genuinely baffled like this. Like, I felt someone ripped pages out of my Quran, like, as a prank. I just sat there on my bed, like, 232, 233. Nope, can't be. Okay, 232, 233. Fuck this book. Fuck this book.
Yeah.
And lastly in this surah, we're treated to the story of Dhul Qarnayn. I no fucking idea. But apparently he was a king or something, and he traveled all the way to the place on the earth where the sun sets.
Hotel California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it'll be on the left.
On the left.
Of everything.
So,
That's
more
on the
that
left of everything.
Scientific foreknowledge and whatnot.
He also went to the place from which it rises, just to be thorough.
Right,
So-
the other left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Which really doesn't seem fair, because it can't be easy to live where the sun rises. Like, it's probably hot there.
At least in the mornings, yeah.
And then he reminds us about how we're going to hell and it's over and done.
Yeah,
with.
and to be honest, we'd originally planned on going through Surah 19 this week, but when I realized that we had a chance to stop on one that actually had new stories in it and shit, I figured for the sake of morale, we just had to jump on that opportunity. So that's all the Quran we're going to fuck with this time around, but we'll be back in 3 weeks to knock out some more. Between now and then, I'll just be scrubbing the stupid out of my eyes with a toothbrush.
I want My Little Ponies.
My left?